Recording with the one and only Miss Mitzi Perdue on Friday, February 10th, 2023 at 3:24 p.m. Eastern time. We were just talking beforehand why I'm doing them live, and I told her that beyond any understanding I have, people like watching them live. I've never cared, so that's why I always didn't do them live, but I started doing them live a couple weeks ago, and the viewership's gone up by probably three, fourfold. And I don't get it. I don't care if something's live or not, but I guess that I am in a minority of one because everyone prefers something to be live. I do not understand it. I don't try to understand it. I don't care.
But that's okay, because I'm here to enlighten you.
Thank
I
you.
will tell you why.
Please do.
All right. This is based on my membership in the National Speakers Association. Speaking is a $5 billion a year industry. And since it's so large, they put a lot of effort into studying what audiences like. And here's what they like about having it live stream. It's the level of engagement just zooms because it's a little bit like a high wire act without a net.
Hmm.
You don't know if somebody's just going to blow it or say something brilliant or whatever, but it's in the moment, and that's just infinitely more powerful. And if I can build on that, I'll say something else that the National Speakers Association says. It's not just about transmitting information, because I can sell you a book for $18, or I can go charge you for a seminar like $2,000 to attend. And a lot of people are going to spend the $2,000 to be there in person.
Hmm.
Why? And shall I let you guess, or shall I just say what the National Speakers Association says?
I would imagine you probably get more out of isn't body language? Isn't that like why, Nixon won the debate to those that listened on the radio, but Kennedy won to those who watched because Kennedy was a handsome devil and Nixon wasn't, but Nixon was brilliant or more so than Kennedy? Is it just body language, facial expression? Is that it?
It's partly because the experience of seeing somebody and interacting and seeing their facial expressions up close, that has so much more impact that it's worth it to people to attend a seminar rather than just get more information from a book. That words are actually a very small part of the experience of influencing you, changing you, having an impact. In fact, I have read, I can't swear that it's true, but a lot of people believe it's true, that when somebody's giving a speech, the actual information that you're transmitting is like 7% of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Watch a really good.
So, okay, so back to that. Here, you and I are on a high wire without a net because we could blow it. There's nobody that's going to go back and correct it if I take off and start swearing as I shouldn't. No correcting it. It's there.
I came to peace with that after the first episode because in my mind, what I liked about it not being live is like there was always some, if this person went way off, and I pretty much allow anything to go, but if this person, went way off the rails and really started calling, racial slurs or calls for violence, I always like having the safety of knowing that I could just not upload it or remove it. But I came
Yeah,
to
but
peace.
that's what makes it exciting to listen to and watch.
But then I came to peace with it, and I was like, somebody may come on and do it. All right, it's not me. I don't. I can. What I would do is I've played it out in my mind. I would. I would denounce that immediately. I would say thank you. This is your last time ever on this show, and I would end the stream. But then I realized it's not me. What do I care? They did it, not me. It's on
Yeah,
camera. It's literally on
yeah.
camera. They did it, not me. So that's alleviated all anxiety I always had about going live. Was yeah, that somebody might go insane and just say whatever they want. All right.
But I absolutely love the feeling that right now you and I are talking with people. I
Yeah.
find it very invigorating. It ups my energy level.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, and I think the first one I did, I was kind of anxious about it. But I think by stream number two, I guess I've been practicing for it over 1,000 episodes of just never editing and not having talking points. I mean, I guess I was just practicing for going live because I do nothing different. I mean, nothing different. So I guess
And I have a theory about you, Tommy, as somebody who's watched you for more than 1,000 sessions. I think you've hit your stride.
you.
You're not an amateur now. You're a journeyman.
I, I feel like I feel like I'm more and more comfortable in it. I feel like I have more confidence in it. I feel like it's, when you've been driving a car for a long time and it kind of becomes the extension of you. That's what I'm slowly getting to is it feels like it's mine. Like there's no, I have to put on a confident face. Like I am, you might get nervous on a first date. You don't get nervous to, go hang out with your brother or your parents. It's just, it is what it is. That's kind of how I'm starting to feel with this is I very much so feel like it's mine. And I feel like I'm hitting some sort of stride, which I hope I am. I mean, God, I hope I am. I've been doing it for 38 months tomorrow. Not that anybody's counting, but
But I've got a great big question that I've been puzzling over because I'm a regular listener. When can YouTube get you back?
never. They
Because you
absolutely.
won't go back,
Oh no,
they
I've tried
don't.
to get back. No, they absolutely. They've become so much more restrictive since one. There's not like they've rolled back and maybe I can, make a case. They're more restrictive now. Like more people are leaving, and they're not just bullying little channels like mine. Now they're bullying the multi-million subscriber channels, and they're coming out saying like, "What are you doing?" It YouTube is they're continuing to burn themselves down. So I couldn't get back on them if I wanted to, and I would go back on just because it's another platform. Why not? But no, they. I think I would be removed. I think if some miracle happened and I got back on, I would be removed. So I'm just kind of watching. It's like a skyscraper on fire, and I'm just kind of watching it from a distance. And like, I don't take pleasure in knowing people are jumping out, but like at the same time, I'm like, I told you 3 years ago, hey guys, there's a fire. All right, and I said there's a fire, and they kicked me out for saying there's a fire. So I don't know, if it goes down, I guess I'll have crocodile tears, but I don't care.
What do we know about YouTube's viewership? Because, gosh, if they're losing the people who are saying the interesting things, where are we? Where are they?
Well, they grew and they accumulated the power that they had because they weren't the first video platform. So that's a misnomer. People say, "Oh, well, they were the first." They were not. They were not by a long shot. There was Newgrounds, there was stupid videos, there was E-Bombs World, all these things in the early 2000s. They kind of cornered the market because they, much like a Rockefeller or a Carnegie, they standardized the system. They made it very user friendly, and anyone could go. And it was the beauty of the internet is you could go watch somebody do a great breakdown of Pearl Harbor. You could also watch somebody teach you how to change your air conditioner vent. You could also watch somebody eat 10 pounds of pasta. Why not? Anything went. And what got them to their super, I think this goes for a lot with when you see musicians who start to rest on their laurels or actors who don't try as hard anymore because they think they're the big name. The activities they took to get to that superstar status, they are no longer partaking in. But there is, much like turning a cruise ship, there's a little bit of delay. So as soon as you stop practicing and trying to be the best every day, you are like Joe Rogan could stop trying. He could stop doing any research. He could not consume any caffeine before it. And it would probably still take like a year or two for him to start to fail because there's this inertia and they have such a large inertia. I mean, I think they bought YouTube in 02, 03. I mean, and they really only started nuking themselves around 2021. They had 20 years of, being the Beatles or being Michael Jordan. There's an inertia. Rome didn't fall immediately. They're falling. And in the future, we'll look back and it will seem relatively quick. It took 3 years. But right now, I think that They are they have the they have the arrogance and the hubris of we're YouTube. Well, okay, you are, but the things that made you YouTube, you're not doing anymore. The things that made you YouTube is what Rumble's doing. And Rumble will become the largest. And if history has any sense of repetition, which it does, I imagine around 2040, Rumble will start to fall. It'll become too big. It'll become top heavy. It'll become completely detached from what made it great. Everyone who founded it will probably cash out. And why wouldn't you? And then something else will arise. That's why. That's what I think. They've got they've got staying power for now.
Well, I don't wish them well.
I don't either. I personally hope it bombs horribly face down, just nosedive. But I think that's why. And they still have the massive, massive channels. But one by one, those will start to. There's a guy I don't know anything about, but I know he's like a popular person on YouTube. His call name is Steve Will Do It. I don't know anything about him, but I know that he got booted off YouTube and he had like 1 million subscribers. I think that was the biggest one. And he came over to
Gee,
Rumble.
gee.
Uh there's a cartoon animator who just makes these really kind of dark, nightmarish cartoons, a couple minutes
Yeah,
long. His name's
yeah.
his name's Meat Canyon, and he's got 5.8 million subscribers. And his most recent thing is about starting to leave for Patreon because they're demonetizing his old video. They're enacting retroactive policies.
No
So
way.
so you can't do X, Y, and Z. Okay, but we're going to apply that to your video you uploaded in 2007, and we're going to penalize you for it. You're like, wait, what? There's a reason why we don't have like double jeopardy and retroactive laws in like the U.S. court system is because it's bullshit. And but they're doing that now, and I think they're
But
hubris.
haven't I been reading that they're letting go lots of their employees?
Well, I imagine that will be another thing as it becomes less and less profitable. They will have that sort of corporate hierarchy of just okay, well, let's remove expenses, and by removing them, you're going to remove the people that helped, keep it clean and remove the little bugs and glitches. But there's still they still have got that like 2 billion person user base. I think Rumble is like maybe 40 or 50 million a month. YouTube, for all intents and purposes, they can still kind of bully everyone and probably will be able to. Probably for, I mean, at least another 2 years, I would imagine, before it even starts to become like noticeable.
But they must have lost so much credibility over COVID.
I think that they're dealing with a different currency and it's government currency.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, they are a company and they do need money, but they got to a point where they're now dealing with we're going to take we're going to take dictation from the right hand of the king. And they're looking at that more. Probably it's like, yeah, we don't need to worry about Best Buy running ads. We're in bed with the White House. And that's
Okay, and carrot and stick, or like Putin negotiates, a combination of uh, flattery and we're going to do great things for you, and blackmail. You don't do what
sure.
we want. You're going to have antitrust problems.
That's a huge thing. How come the government hasn't broken up these antitrust monopolies? Right?
I
Well,
think both of us and everybody listening to us right now. I can't see you, people who are listening to us or watching us, but nod your head
yeah.
because we're all agreeing.
Oh yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? You're the government, you've got power, and you're going, I can break up your stranglehold on the world, all of digital discourse. Or you just, I don't know, shadow ban this topic. All right. I mean, why wouldn't that happen? Why would the corruption of man all of a sudden disappear in the year 2020? It's been going on since the dawn of time.
I, I I'm asking a rhetorical question because I've heard you speak on it, but good Lord, the US is resembling more and more a dictatorship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got Putin-esque qualities to it.
Yeah. It's I don't really think there's any way backwards. I think the best you can hope is that they make too many grabs for power too quickly, and someone else in power uses their folly so that they can propel themselves forward.
Yep.
I think that's probably the best case you're looking at, right? Because all throughout history, you have kind of like, at least in the last 150 years, communism will start to take over, and then a hardcore fascist will take control to fight the communists. And you get rid of the communists, but then you have a fascist dictatorship. But if you don't have the fascist dictatorship and the communists take over, then you just have genocide. So we're at a point where it's we're going for lesser of two evils. I don't think there's any like happy ending now. I don't think we're going towards greener. I hope there is. I hope and pray there is. But
But you
you
know, this struggle that you've been mentioning, since you mentioned 150 years of history, I wish to trump you.
okay.
I'm going to go back. Let's go to 5,000. No, let's go to 2,500 BC. And we're in Ukraine, known as Scythia at the time. And Herodotus, the father of history, he was the first person to write about Ukraine, or to write from a historical point of view about Ukraine. And this was a period when the Athenians were at war with what today would be Turkey. Or let's see, the Persians back then. The Persians controlled Ukraine. Herodotus was really interested in the war between Athens and Persia, including Ukraine. And he said, back that long ago, it's a fight between liberty and tyranny. Athenians being liberty, the Persians being tyranny. But isn't it kind of amazing that this endless push between the people who want to dominate us and the people who want us to be free, it just goes on forever?
Yeah, and I don't think it will ever really stop. I guess
Because the impulse of psychopaths to dominate, manipulate, and control is, there's a certain percentage of people who have that. And I think Putin is exhibit A. And then on the other side, there are people who really want everybody to be free and happy and be all they can be. And
for that,
that tension's going to go on and on forever, probably.
I think pretty much it has to get so bad that the people that just want to be left alone eventually rise up and do something, and then they fight back, and then for a couple of generations, everyone stays aware and make sure that they got their ear to the ground, and then you grow complacent and you grow lazy, and then 70 to 100 years goes by and you wonder why a dictator's come into power, and then if it can't be fixed, it falls apart. And right now, I think the mindset is, well, if America falls, there's nowhere else to go, and I think that's accurate. But there's nowhere else to go for now. There was no reason for all of human history to ever assume that a republic would arise, but it eventually did. Just kind of like, you've rolled the dice enough times, you're going to get snake eyes. Eventually, America arose, and it might be a couple if America falls, China will fill the vacuum, and then it will be a communist dictatorship, and with technology and asymmetric power exertion, that will exist for a long time, but eventually the people in charge of that dictatorship after a century or two will start to grow complacent, start to grow lazy, much like YouTube, and they will forget what made them so powerful. And then some up and comer will create some colony somewhere, and then there will be a 1776 2.0 where against all odds some group wins, and they'll establish a new colony, and that will grow, and then by the providence of God it will become the greatest power on earth, and it'll be the equivalent of some 1945 post-war America, and then that will go on for 70 to 100 years, and then it will I think it just goes forever. I really did.
The book that I'm reading, it's Gates of Europe, and it does go back to Herodotus, and it really gives me a perspective of what's going on in Ukraine today. It didn't start in 2019, in 2022. It started back 2,500 years ago.
Yeah,
or probably before that, but we've got records from 2,500 years ago.
that's what I mean, is I think it just goes.
The trouble is, when it's going badly, the suffering is so enormous.
Sure.
And that dear beloved friend, is my segue into what I want to talk about.
Oh yeah,
Ukraine and
completely
landmines.
forgot. I was just going way off in a. Well, you start talking about YouTube, and my blood starts to boil, and I get riled up, and I hate them. But you're right, I
Oh
completely
yeah, but
forgot.
we're on the same team on that. I consider them loathsome. I think they're initially kind of like, wasn't it Twitter whose motto was "Do no harm"?
No, no, that was Google.
That
Do
was
no e-
Google. Yeah, yeah, you're
do
right.
don't be evil.
Don't be evil. Um, gosh, how often, the motto that you start out with, you become the reverse of.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's no, they've done it. But I don't think there's any way to not do that. I feel like Apple's done like a decent job at becoming a behemoth, and I know that they probably still do a bunch of shady stuff. But they do a pretty good job at just delivering products, all things being equal. I mean, I know, yeah, they use Foxconn labor, and I know they've assisted the FBI and cloud storage, but for a company that did become a 2-3 trillion dollar behemoth, they have not nearly gone over the cliff of evil that Google seemed to have just rode directly towards it with rocket thrusters. Like the second they started to get any sort of back to 2016, they were shutting down Google Drive accounts and Google Doc accounts if you had any text on there, saying slanderous words like tranny instead of transsexual. I mean, this is 7 years ago. So it's not even it's right when Trump got into office or right before he actually got in office. I remember reading about it summer 2016. So like they've been they've been ferociously. They didn't just walk off the cliff by accident. They saw the cliff, put their
What if,
GPS on it and floored it.
yeah, but what if positions of power really do attract the psychopaths? And the definition of psychopath that I'm working with is somebody who's really into domination, manipulation, and control. And that usually, if you want to control somebody, you want them to do something they don't want to do. You don't want them to have the freedom to have their own thoughts. Doesn't it sound kind of psychopathic what's happening to big tech? That the psychopaths are clawing their way up to the top?
Well, yeah. And I think it probably happens with any consolidation of power. And then they will drive it off the cliff and something will arise alternatively. And then there will be something new and it will blossom as all the creative, free thinking people flock there, like what Google used to be. And then that will run
But
its course.
that's the glory of democracy, because uh, if somebody's really psychopathic, at least up till recently, we just vote them out. Well, if it's someplace like Russia, the Russian Empire, I'm inclined to say it these days, you're a psychopath and you claw your way through the top. How do you, or you're Chairman Xi, who gets you out? There, democracy has a defense against the evil part of human nature that wants to dominate, manipulate, and control.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems to me as if socialism, communism, any kind of tyranny means you're defenseless against the psychopaths.
Well, you are, and if there are elections, they suspend them. But then,
Or fight them.
yeah,
I mean, look at Ukraine and the Donbass and the elections there, or even Crimea. I think I read that 95% of the people voted to join Russia. Do you believe those elections?
well, so it's you either have fair elections or they're hijacked, outright suspended, or just not allowed. And sure, you consolidate your power, and then over a long enough time, the the snake eats itself and the country implodes. It takes decades, sometimes centuries, but it can't lie. But the psychopaths don't care because their lifespan isn't centuries. So as long as they get to have their cake, they don't give a shit if anybody else does.
Yeah, and the amount of, oh golly, I've been to Ukraine twice, and I'm planning on going a third time because your friend, that would be me, has signed up to go to demining school in Ukraine. I want to go so I can write about it. I want to write about it to let people know good Lord, some of the things that are going on. But before we get to that, I want to share something that I learned from this book that I'm in love with. Do you know where the word Donbass comes from? Of course you don't, because you needed Mitzi to tell you.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Here goes. It's short. The Donbass area is where the big coal mines are. And they don't call them mines so much as they call them basins. So Donbass is the Donetsk area basin. So Donetsk, basin, Bass. So Donbass. So Donbass is kind of short for the eastern part of Ukraine's coal area.
Okay.
Okay, but back to some of why I want to go back and why I want to write about it. It will, the next article I write will be the 18th that has been published in places like Newsweek or the Washington Examiner. I just some biggies that I'm really happy with. What the Russians have done in Ukraine right now is unique in the mining area. I was talking with the guy who's head of the UN for mine clearing throughout the world. He said that there's never been a country as heavily mined as Ukraine right now, that statistics from last year were 10% of all the farmland in Ukraine has been mined, as in rendered unusable for agriculture. And why is it unusable? Well, you're a farmer driving your tractor and you come across a mine, it blows up your tractor and it may kill you. And there may be 1,000 mines on your few acres of cropland. And the question that I kind of hope people might ask, and if not, I'm asking it for them, how do you get 1,000 mines on one farm? I mean, there's not somebody walking around planting landmines. The Russians have invented a machine. It looks something like, I mean, this is going to be a rough analogy, but it looks something like a HIMARS vehicle, one of those multiple rocket launch vehicles. But instead of launching like explosives, well, it is launching an explosive, but say there are 50 of these rocket tubes on the back of a truck. Each one of these tubes can carry between 60 and 100 landmines. They're the ones I've seen roughly maybe the size of your palm, and you can stuff 70 or 100 of these into one tube. There are 50 tubes. I mean, we're approaching 5,000 landmines that this thing can shoot, and it can be in a field. It can be on a country road where nobody sees it. It can fire at a distance of between 3 miles and 10 miles.
Oh, wow.
And they've gotten the coordinates of where the best farmland is, and they just start shooting hour after hour, day after day, until 10% of the second largest country in Europe is roughly 10% mined. And so what does that mean? Well, that's part of what the Russians have done. It's a three-part thing. One is destroy the agricultural land. Another part is destroy the agricultural equipment. And then another part is mining the sea lanes, so that even if a farmer is able to grow her crops, but let's go with his, how do you transport them over mined roads to the port? And then how does the port sell your grain? And they haven't exercised the sea mined part of the grain yet. However, I've heard expectations that when Russia really is going for the throat, which it will, which it's about to, and I have this information from people I talk with in Ukraine, it's probably pretty well known if you follow the news at all, but that Russia's really gearing up possibly for its last biggest attempt. And my hope is that if this attempt fails, that Russia fails, but Russia doesn't want to fail, so they are ready to go for the throat. So between sea mines and land mines, they can just utterly destroy the livelihoods of the farmers. They can destroy the economy of the country, because a good bit of Ukraine's economy is, it's one of the bread baskets of the world. You wipe that out, and how does a country survive if there's no way for anybody to earn a living? Where do the taxes come in? How do you pay for things? The Russians are just going after that. But that's not the end of it. When I was in Russia last, I'm trying to say Ukraine, when I was in Ukraine last, which was end of December, I made friends with a policewoman. Her name is Irina. And she was showing me on her cell phone some of the things that they, as police, take pictures of. The Russians very, very, very deliberately plant landmines in playgrounds, and they do this with the landmines. I'm going to guess that most people, when you think of a landmine, if you think of it at all, you think of a claymore mine. Something that maybe it's like a dish that's a dinner plate, but the one that's maybe 3 inches thick. That's the shape that I always thought of landmines of. But no, the current ones, the ones that they're going to seed the playgrounds with, or that they have seeded playgrounds with, they look something like leaves. So that if you're in a playground, and you're running around, and there are leaves blown in the corner of the playground, and you're running around chasing the ball or something, you step on one of these, quote, leaves, and it's not going to kill you, but it will take off your foot. And the Russians very, very deliberately have calculated how much liquid explosive is in one of these leaf-shaped things, that I think, if I'm remembering right, it's 40 grams, unless it's 40 milligrams, but it's known how much is in it, and it's not enough to explode all the way up to kill you, but it will render you maimed for the rest of your life. And it does mean that one of your parents, is not going to be contributing to the economy or fighting the war. They're going to be taking care of their beloved, permanently maimed child. And other things that the Russians do is, say when they're leaving a town, they'll booby trap it. And I'm told the person telling me this said that they're very psychologically adept at how you cause the maximum misery. The person who was telling me this story said, you go to clear the landmines in a city, you go to the house, you check the house has a well, that's where they get their water. The house it might have an outhouse. No mines. They check the living room. They check the dining room. No mines. They check the parents' bedrooms. No mines. They check the child's bedroom, and there, maybe among a stack of toys, is a mine. And again, it's one of these things which isn't enough to kill you, but it is enough maybe to blind you, or take your hands off, or leave you totally maimed for life. And so I'm asking, why aren't they in the bedrooms, or why aren't they in the living rooms or the kitchens or the dining rooms or whatever? And the answer is because the Russians are very well aware that when a refugee comes back, people are just so overjoyed to come back into their house, and the kid's going to rush to his or her bedroom for the comfort of, playing with their toys. And boom, their life is changed forever. Just the sheer evilness of just calculating how bad you can make it.
Well, isn't that, isn't there, was it Iraq? Was it maybe it was Vietnam?
Afghanistan did this.
Wasn't there something use like a very low level explosive, and it's like the psychological warfare of like, you'd rather be killed than lose a foot or something. I'm trying to rack my memory.
Well, from a point of view of the country, it's
sure, that too,
because you don't want to stretch the medical system. You don't want adults who could be productive members of society are forced to, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it is the Russians' playbook. By the way, that was one person who described to me when with his mind clearing, but another one told me kind of a different experience. He said that in the village where he was clearing, that the Russians would be very strategic about figuring out. They would set like the equivalent of a grenade, but they'd have it so that the pin would be triggered when you open a cabinet door, or maybe your dishwasher or microwave, or I don't know if how many people have microwaves there, but something that you would just in the normal course of events, you return to your house or apartment and you open a cabinet door, maybe the refrigerator, and you're blinded. So what do you do about it, right?
I was gonna ask back to the mine truck. How do they bury them? Because if they're kind of discs, that's not like a penetrative shape. That's not like a dart, or is it just? I guess you throw them into tall grass and you kind of don't need to bury them. I know it's a weird thing to fixate on, but that's my OCD mind. Is how would you, if the idea is for them to not be visible?
Well, I've seen videos of it, and they the farmland it's that I've seen, it's not like a nice dirt furrows. It's maybe it's grass, maybe it's
A little more
but
wild.
I can what I've seen is I don't know, it looks to me like wheat fields. Other things that I've seen are, well, just agricultural land that hasn't been plowed under.
Sure.
Then it's pretty much invisible to you, because if it looks like a leaf, uh, and it's, you know, if you're really looking for it, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But if you've got, I don't know, 200 or 300 acres to plow, and there's 1,000 of these things there,
Sure.
I mean, it's just that land is not available to you. You are going bankrupt. You are going to be destitute.
And they
And
stay
in
for decades, right? I mean,
okay, that, but then another thing, the landmines that are distributed in children's playgrounds, the ones that I saw, let me be more accurate, the ones that I saw pictures of, that this landmine that looks something like a leaf, it falls to the ground, and 3 or 4 hours later, they can have in different colors. Like it's summer, it will be green. It's fall, it will be fall colors. In the fall colored ones that I saw, when it first lands, yeah, you can see it because it's kind of lying on top of things. But 3 or 4 hours later,
yeah.
you know, some other leaves fall, some pine needles cover it, and it doesn't have to cover it. It just breaks up the edges. You don't see it unless you've almost, I think I'm exaggerating, but you almost need a magnifying glass. But I mean, or to be more realistic, you have to be paying close attention,
Yeah.
because if you're not looking for it, you will not see it.
Then it's also the psychological aspect of you really only need one story of it on one playground, and now that makes you look at every playground kind of
Well,
have
how
a
about you don't send your kids to the playgrounds anymore?
well, sure that it's all it all has psychological ripple effects, right?
And you know, there's even another part of this. I am due to interview an expert on this, but I've heard just kind of in the background that the PTSD of having landmines around uh, can be almost as severe and lasting and wearing as being on the front lines, because you don't know at what moment you may be blown up or your kid may be blown up.
Hmm.
And that it's real genuine PTSD of just, it reduces your ability to function.
Or you have like Dale's told stories about being in Afghanistan and seeing what their mind clearing technique was, and it's a dad takes 10 of his kids and has them walk in front of him, wait till one of the 4-year-olds blows up. Kind of messed up.
Kind of messed up. Fortunately, here's what I know about what's going on in Ukraine. But the trouble is, they are making efforts, and I think the U.S. government is spending close to $100 million in subsidizing mine clearing right now. And the idea is you don't wait for the war to be over, you just start working on it now. But the mine clearing schools, there's a group called the Halo Trust, and I'm raising money for it in a crowdfunding effort. It's called Donor C,
Right.
Mine Free.
And I put the link to that in the description.
Yeah, and I'm extremely happy with a donation that's the equivalent of what you'd spend in Starbucks. I mean, $5 will make a difference, because every penny counts in this, including that I get to tell people in Ukraine, look how the Americans are supporting you. And boy, is that ever a good feeling. But back to what's known about mine clearing. The Halo Trust, it does mine clearing all over the world. And if you remember the picture, it's kind of an iconic picture of Princess Diana in a minefield, drawing attention to mine clearing. Well, if maybe you have to be 50 to remember this, because I think it was in 1995. So pictures of Diana show up with this thing, doing mine clearing. But the organization behind that was the Halo Trust. And with more than 30 years of experience in mine clearing, they know the most effective holistic way to go about clearing a country of mines. And the first thing they do is they get the government to establish kind of rules of, like, the order in which you do it, because you get the order wrong and people are going to die. You get the mine clearing organizations to cooperate. And I did a chat GPT search on mine clearing organizations in Ukraine, and I found 65 in like 3 seconds. Well, they all have to play well together. You don't want, you want them to go where it's most needed and where they're not duplicating, and where they have the expertise to do whichever kind of mine clearing is needed. And the guy I was talking with the UN, he was telling me that the Ukrainians are so cooperative that he says, my job is like, I'm pushing and pushing and pushing on an open door. In other words, they're as cooperative as can be, and they're doing it really in a smart way. And then they have all sorts of, if you're going to clear mines in Ukraine, you need to be accredited. You have to demonstrate that you know how to do it, and how to do it safely, and how to do the steps right, and how to hand over it to the village in a way that's just totally trustworthy, so that the village doesn't spread the word, oh, they said it's safe and it's not. So I find it very impressive how holistically they're going about it. And then I got myself invited to go to mine clearing school. You can go for 6 months and get really, really technical about it, or you can go for a few days and learn how to do the really simple stuff. And I don't yet know what the really simple stuff is, but here's what I do know, that there's so much technology behind it. For example, have you ever seen a picture of somebody in a mine clearing outfit? It's something like a spacesuit, and you see a visor over the person's head that shields their face, and it looks like glass.
Are they like EOD suits, explosive ordnance, the guys that defuse bombs?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I recognize those.
Well, yeah. I was asking, having glass over your face, that looks, how could that stop an explosive? Okay, here's what an organization that's been doing this for 30 years and studying, and where there are academic programs that learn how to be safe, how to do it, how to get the best equipment. I hope I'm getting this right. I'm going to be directionally accurate, even if I am not absolutely completely accurate, but I'll try my best. They know that explosive, like at a short range, like a mine that you're about to step on or detonate, they know how fast that explosive is moving. And it's, I think the rate is like 450 meters per second. The glass surrounding your face in the ordnance disposal unit is calibrated to withstand 1,000 meters per second. So they really do know on a quite technical level what they're doing. And I can't wait to learn more. I mean, that's just stuff that I've picked up talking with people. But boy, when I've spent several days at mine clearing school, I didn't know so much more than I know now. I'm excited about it.
Oh, EOD suits are wild. Yeah, I know there's, again, from my limited knowledge of it, I know there's, I mean, there's kind of like metal detectors. You can just bomb areas and hope that will do it. I know the US has we took these like Abrams tanks, and I think we took off the turret and we put on these huge skis on the front of them. And then the Taliban they started wisening up, and they started making landmines that had tripwires 20 feet ahead of the mine. So you'd go ahead, you'd hit the tripwire, and now the mine's under you. So then we started pushing our skis out 20 feet, so they'd make them 40 feet. So then they started making they're really crazy. It's like they have these like spinning things on the front of them with like hundreds of chains with these it almost looks like a medieval weapon, like these big
Yep.
metal ball, and they'll kind of smash up the land. But I think, and I could be wrong, I think now they do it in conjunction with drones that have like ground penetrating radar, and they pretty much can just find them and then, dispose of them there. So I know there's multiple methods to outdo it. I don't think it's a one size fits all.
They have
I'm
these.
gonna grab my blanket real quick.
Okay, but meanwhile, I will monologue. Oh,
you're
I
good.
don't
No,
get
it's
to
right here.
monologue.
No, it's right here.
Okay, how cold is it there?
I don't know. My room's a little chilly. It's normally I have it colder in here. It's pretty warm in here, but I'm still chilly, so I don't know. I think it's in the 60s here. It's actually pretty balmy for Portland.
Yeah, I have my window wide open
Yeah, no,
because,
it's
like you, I like it cold. I think I don't like it as cold as you like it, but I'm going to be sad when winter's over. I love winter because I actually enjoy the cold.
it actually got, I think last Friday, there was actually a record low here, and I think it was 18 below, and like some pipes in the building exploded. Like you can't use the gym right now. Like the pipes exploded. That was a little too cold for me, but
But you're in the right place. Are you? What city are you near?
I'm in
Portland?
Portland. Yeah. Yeah, no,
I should know that because I've heard you say it. But
I'm fine, but that was too cold. 18 below was too cold. And I think there was a record temperature on Mount Washington in New Hampshire, with wind chill. They said it was, I think, a negative 101, which is
well,
just,
my sister, whom I stay with over Christmas and New Year's, she lives 3/4 of the way up Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire, and it got to minus 40 degrees wind chill.
yeah, no thank you.
And I think it wasn't that cold. It might have been like, I don't know, 18 below, but there was plenty of wind on
Yeah.
this mountain
Yeah.
ridge.
I was screenshotting the weather app on my phone last week. It was like 18 below, and with the wind, I think the lowest it got here was 43. Yeah, that's no, thank you. That's too much for me. But back to the mine clearing. What are they using all of those tactics? Are there
Oh, they're
separate
using
ones?
so many. And again, I'm going to know an awful lot more a few months from now. But what I know right now is that they have these fabulous drones that will map a whole field. And then a different drone carries, I've seen it done, but I'm not sure. I mean, I'll describe it, but I don't know the mechanism. Another drone goes by over where it's been mapped and detonates the mines. Can you figure out how a secondary drone would, I mean, does it drop something to
I
detonate
imagine
it
it would.
electronically or?
I imagine you'd get like not a drone, like a the ones that look like planes, but probably the little quadcopter ones, the ones that like
Yeah,
you can buy. Yeah, I think
that's exactly what it looks like.
you'd probably, I would imagine, because you can get those can carry like the weight of a grenade. So I imagine you would have one that would map it, and then you'd have a quadcopter probably on the edge of the field. And I'm just making this all up, but I imagine this is what you do: pick up a grenade, go drop it on the target till it's detonated, come back, go pick up another grenade, I mean, I guess you could fly the drone into it, but that would get very expensive. So,
No, 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 no. Definitely, they were hovering over it, and something was
yeah,
happening.
yeah, they
And it
drop a little
sounds exactly
explosive.
like what you described, but again, I'll know more in a couple of months. But then some other really cool things. Uh, there are bomb sniffing dogs that can, or mine sniffing dogs, and they're trained. They people who study this say that their ability to sniff a mine is somewhere between 1,000 and 8,000 times our ability to.
Yeah,
And they're trained not to get close to the mine. They just get close enough where they can like point it, and then somebody else comes along and possibly the drone and detonates it. So the dogs do not get hurt in this process. And then the one that I'm just most excited about, uh, I hope I'm not telling something that's off the record, but here goes. You've heard of Boston uh,
dynamics.
Dynamics? They have a bomb sniffing robot that looks like a dog. It's called Spot. And the part that I'm not sure whether I can talk about yet or not, so here goes, is there.
Remember, it is live. Do you remember that?
No, I think I'm safe on this.
All right, just full disclosure. This is Mitzi, not me.
No, I do think I'm okay. They're trying it out in Ukraine. I mean, there's going to be actual field experience. And boy, do I want to see that. And again, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I've read that it's faster and better than an actual dog. And like the dog, it knows not to get itself destroyed.
Yeah, the olfactory capabilities of a dog are still, I think historically, I mean, we're probably coming up on some sort of robotic parody, but I know historically the ability of a dog to sniff something out, it was still outperformed any machine we could create. But I would imagine we're probably getting close to where we have synthetic sensors that can start to detect things like a right. I mean, forever like an eagle's eye was better, and then finally we passed it with camera resolution in like the 60s, like so that forever flight was out of the hands of humans until 120 years ago. So it's only a matter of time until we have something at parity with it that's better than it, right?
I'm ready to bet that Spot, the Boston Dynamics dog. Well, again, I'll know more in a couple of months, but if I had to bet, I'd bet that it's already there. It's already there in the sense that its ability to detect scent.
I thought about this last year. I think, as time goes on, we'll look back at the Ukrainian Russian war, and I think it'll be a turning point for drones. I mean, I know the war on terror was largely considered, right, drone warfare, but that in itself it's still pretty limited. It was drones flying and shooting missiles. It's not that. I think that decades from now we'll look at the Russian-Ukrainian war as like the pivotal turning point for full spectrum drone technology, from dropping mines to clearing mines to dogs to, and I think we've been lending Ukraine like autonomous submersibles. I think, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I think both sides are kind of throwing all the drone technology at it, and it's kind of getting wild as it's drone on drone, which I guess in one way is like a progression of war to start to remove people and put in drones. It's not to make light of the human deaths, but I guess that's one of the episodes I did at the end of 2021 was with this Professor Samuel Moyne, who wrote the book Humane, and it's about like, is making war more palatable, is that more or less humane? Because as we make it more palatable, we're less repulsed by it. But what other way to do it than to, humans are never going to stop fighting. We've been doing it since the dawn of time. We will continue until the end of time. As Dale says, we're the warring ape, either with lasers or with clubs. It's just what it is. Get over it. I guess
I love that realism, and I can't bear. Oh, I hope people don't hate me for this, but I'm not a fan of pacifists because
it's not
if the whole
realistic.
world would be pacifist, yes, but if not, somebody's just going to take advantage of you.
Well, let's look at nuclear weapons. When did life on Earth, when did the nuclear threat really end? 1949, when the Russians detonated theirs. we could promise the world that we wouldn't use them, and we didn't. We used them to end a war, and then we didn't use them. But it, there was some oomph behind it when someone else had them pointed at us. That's
Exactly.
pacifism. Hey, I'm with it. I'm all for love thy neighbor, kumbaya. Never once in history has that worked out. What's worked out is when they've got a nuclear weapon to our head and we've got it to their head, and then we both play nice, because then it's self-interest as opposed to pacifism. So sure, it'd be great if we never fought again, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So I think you kind of got to take the ugly win and say over decades it will slowly turn to drone on drone. And what it was like Guadalcanal, Okinawa? Didn't we lose like 20,000 American soldiers like
I,
that? We lost
what
7,000.
was Iwo Jima?
Iwo Jima was even more. And those were single battles. The Vietnam War was 10 years, 58,000 deaths. War on Terror was twice as long and was 7,500, I believe, U.S. servicemen and women. Yeah, and then you go back to World War II, and it was like, yeah, we'd lose 30,000 men taking an island. So there is like, sure, it'd be great if we all held hands. That's not going to happen. What's the next best thing? It sucks that it's taken 80 years, but now, now we look at the war on terror. And I remember when it started and I was in middle school, you would see on the news 10 soldiers killed today. We'd pray for them in sixth grade or whatever. But the idea of 10 soldiers' deaths making the news versus like 1940, normally it was like, and 10,000 boys were struck down last night. And that was just the news. So I can only imagine that as this goes on, and there will be another war in 2030 and 2040 and whatever. And as time marches on, I think it'll
But
probably get to a point where it's like, I think wars will start to be probably more like plane crashes, where it'll be big news if there's a human death, right? Car
but
crashes don't.
I have a theory which I haven't heard from anybody else, but here goes. I think Russia's in so much economic trouble right now for so many reasons that if it doesn't prevail in what's going on right now and in the next few months, I think it's going to be an economic basket case for 2 generations. I don't think it will be capable of attacking other countries.
Probably.
And I also suspect that China's, it's so much in debt right now. I don't see it long term being able to cause the damage that it could exactly right now.
I think I think there's something fascinating specifically about the timing of us pulling out of Kabul in August 2021. And as disastrous as that was, and I'm no fan of Biden, I will also give credit where credit's due. To much of the dismay of a lot of my military guests, at least it sucked, but the band-aid had to come off and he did it, and now we're not there. And it's terrible. And those 13 soldiers died, and that was terrible. But in the grand kind of 100,000-foot scheme of things, we had to get out, and we got out. Give credit where credit's due. Whatever. Unpopular opinion.
Oh, but I'm going to yank his credit away because I think he did it so badly. I think that he's
Sure.
I think that Putin wouldn't have attacked Ukraine if he didn't see America as a paper tiger.
Perhaps. Probably. But I think there's also something about us pulling out, regardless. Let's say it went
Okay, I'm
south.
real glad that we pulled out. I just wish
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we had left
Sure.
$60 billion worth of equipment so that they could sell it to China and reverse engineer it and use it on us.
Sure, absolutely. And the Saigon withdrawal should, again, it should. I'm with you. I'm no fan. I think I've made that very clear. I'm no fan of Biden. That being said, let's say we pulled out swimmingly. Let's say Trump was still in office, which you and I would both like, and we pulled out and it was just to a T and great. Okay. I think it's fascinating in that our involvement in Ukraine. Did my camera just block out?
Yeah,
Uh, this
I can
is
still hear you.
okay. Hold on. Give me 1 second. This has happened. It's the second. It's never happened before until, did it not start video? There we go. We'll use the
Oh, I
Mac.
like that.
Is the Mac. It's happened twice now with this, where that camera
Hey, Tommy,
overheat.
you look really good this way.
Thank you. But that camera's never overheated in all the time I've had it. and it overheated just now and about a month ago with Dr. Bregan. That's never the only thing I can think of is I kept my old apartment on the air conditioner at 55. And because it's so cold in Portland, I don't actually turn the air conditioner on. So I wonder if you can only run it for so long. It shouldn't be that way. That's a $2,500 camera.
What kind did you get?
It's a Sony. I got that in July 2021. It's a Sony A something. I don't know. I could find it. It's got a really nice
Is
lens on it.
any chance it's a Sony A5100?
I don't know. I'd have to.
Oh, except it's not an A5100 because that's what I have and it's $600. It's not. It's
No,
not
this
the.
one was a lot, but it's been a little inside baseball. Is I kept my old apartment at 55 degrees because my little studio closet like room that you saw was very tiny and got very hot. So you had to just constantly, like a fire hose, hit it with cold air just so it would stay somewhat cold. This apartment, I don't have to because this is a big open room. And also because Portland is so cold, I don't waste money turning on the air conditioner. I just open the windows for a little bit and I let the cold air comes in and then it's good for 12 hours. But it's 65 in this room right now, which technically I guess is 10 degrees warmer than I ever kept that before. And I think that camera is meant for like taking pictures as opposed to I think it's capable of being used as a video. I don't think that's its primary design, which is what I use it for day in and day out. And I've noticed it only happens on like a second or third episode, which means that it's gotta heat up. So I've been turning it off between episodes. But a camera that expensive should not be shut. If I had that thing out at Kabul Air Base and was filming the withdrawal, yeah, I'd get if the heat thing went off in Afghanistan. It shouldn't. That's a strike against them. Not that Sony cares, but as my podcast grows, I will remember this. But
Well, if it were me, I would look up on the internet and ask, has anybody had this problem? Because it might be a defective camera.
it might it might also just be I've done like 700 episodes on it. Maybe that happens after. I don't know. Shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening. Shout out to Apple. This one never dies. But that being said, going back to withdrawal from Kabul is I do think it's fascinating in that whether this happened right after, like right after Vietnam, right? There's a lot of hesitancy to go into Korea because it was right after World War II. As soon as Vietnam ended, if you had tried to go do something else, no one would have allowed it because there was such an unpopular take on the war. It's fascinating to see, I think, another thing expediting our use of drones in Ukraine is you could not convince any US soldier, you couldn't send boots over there if you tried. So there is this sort of weird workaround where the impalatability, is that a word, of war, specifically our own involvement, is such that if we send aid, yeah, talking heads are, yeah, we're sending too much, whatever. It's, it's in the news, it's out of the news. It's not the same as sending over servicemen and women. So I think that's also a sort of a fascinating, I guess, paradigm of drone tech. I think this will be looked at as the drone war because Iraq, Afghanistan, that wasn't the drone war because that was us using drones on them, not vice versa. This is drone v drone. I think that's what this will be remembered as, is probably a hyper acceleration in development of drone on drone warfare.
Why does it fascinate you that, because I know that you care about history. I didn't expect to be living through history right now.
For
Do you,
what?
do you,
What do you
well,
mean?
in the war in Ukraine, that I've studied wars in the past. I've read books on World War II or World War I or who knows, the
Yeah.
Napoleonic Wars. But here's a war going right.
I
It's
don't
contemporaneous.
I don't know. I'm 32. When I was 11, they knocked down the Twin Towers. We went into Afghanistan. When I was 13, we went into Iraq. In '08, we had a once in a lifetime financial crisis. And then, when I
Okay,
was,
no lack of history, but there hasn't been a war on this scale. I mean, this
well,
this is edging towards World War II in
it involved,
intensity.
sure. Sure, no, I get that, but I guess in my kind of short life, it's been, thing after thing after thing after thing. All
It didn't let up.
these once in a lifetime events have happened several times in my life now, right? Attack on U.S. soil. This should only happen on Pearl Harbor. Okay. Us ramping up involvement in the Middle East. We thought that was over in Vietnam. '08 financial crisis that shouldn't have happened since 1928. A COVID pandemic, which shouldn't have happened since 1918. I guess at this point, I'm sort of like, yeah, why wouldn't it?
Darn, you're your age and you're jaded.
That's what I mean. It's like once in a lifetime events have happened like four times in my life. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, yeah, what? Of course this happens, right?
Well, on the other hand, at 81, I'm thinking, oh my God, oh.
Yeah. No, no, I'm not that surprised. I feel like, as the comedian Tim Dillon said, we weren't getting out of the pandemic without a war. And no one likes that, but that's the reality. It's like humanity kind of moves on from crisis to crisis. And it seems like there was really no way out of this one.
By the way, I just got a text message from one of your listeners, Carlos. I won't say his last name, but I guess people are liking us. Yay!
Oh, good. And I've noticed, I don't know why, with this camera, my face is like blood red. I think it's just adjusting to the blue lights I have on this. With this camera, I look like straight up sunburned. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably what this war will be looked back at as, right? Because China's not going to send Chinese troops, but they'll probably send drones. And they have an interest, and as do we, of just not to be, again, jaded, but the big money in this country does have interest in constantly trying out new weapons. And you can try out a weapon in the middle of a desert in Nevada so many times. They want to see it. They want to see it in the real world. You've got a real-time fight going on right now. This isn't Afghanistan where it's us versus people in sandals and caves. This is a modern country against a fighting another modern country. This is modern warfare. It's very information warfare heavy. It's very they're getting to test out again, not to sound kind of black pilled, but there's a lot of free R&D right now. And that's a bad way to look at it, but
How about it's really true?
it's it's not like me cheering it. It's just we want to see how it works out, right? I mean, there's a huge argument that we kind of just wanted to see what the A bomb did, like that we didn't need to. I mean, Vietnam, the sensors we dropped all along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a lot of it was just kind of to see if it worked. Desert Storm, how well do these laser guided things work? It's not
Well, if I
good.
were an arms merchant, I would really be happy these days because
That's another thing is like, doesn't it
a lot
almost
of
kind of
money
make
to be
sense?
made.
Doesn't
In
it?
fact, wasn't it one of your guests who said that that war is one of the most profitable things in the world?
Bernie Flowers. No, it's hands down the most profitable thing in the world because you blow shit up and then you get to do
Yeah, and then
contract.
you have to replace it.
Well, you get not only replace the weapons, you also rebuild the thing you blew up. And a lot of these defense contractors also do, it's called war con. It's war construction, like Kellogg, Brown and Root or Halliburton. Not only do they sell weapons, what a coincidence. I sell weapons that blow up roads, but there's also a subsidiary of Tommy Inc. that builds roads. It's it that ain't a coincidence. And it's a kind of it is a black pilling thing, but it's almost par for the course. We got off the teat of the war in the Middle East. We are
But
off
you
it
know,
for
that's one of
six
your
months.
superpowers. I know I'll get your attention by saying that one of your superpowers,
Oh God.
uh, willingness to be realistic.
It used to be willingness, and now it just kind of seems to be like a natural thing.
Not a choice. Yeah,
Well,
but think of how many people see things. I have an expression that I'm really fond of. The tourniquet of ideology closes off blood flow to the brain. And it
oh,
seems to
that's
me,
good. I like that.
okay, it seems to me that a lot of people suffer from ideology and ideological tourniquet.
Well, I used to do it as like a mental exercise. I'd be like, let's try to entertain an idea that we don't believe in. Try to do it all the time on here. But you fake it till you make it. I've sort of done it so many times that now the juice from that freshly squeezed orange is so much better than the store-bought stuff that like now it's no longer a mental exercise. And I'm like, no, let's look at it. Like, let's try to find out why Biden did the right thing and let the balloon fly over the US. I don't believe that, but I've found that opening your mind to all possible options, it does completely liberate you because it abolishes
But
your
think
own
of
ideology.
how many presences on TV can't do that. They have to go with the narrative.
Yeah, that seems like death. To me, that seems when you see someone who like they've got to do the Republican viewpoint, and then the other guy, I've got to do the CNN view. Dude, that feels like oh, that just feels that's like that's like a punk rock band selling out and they can no longer like say what they want to say. They have to say what they're that just seems like that seems like selling your soul. Like it's no longer you. There's now a hand underneath you just kind of operating you. So like I do get a kick out of saying things knowing that, Rumble is a highly conservative website by virtue of the fact that everyone there got banned from YouTube, which is a, communist website. But I still get a kick out of just if everyone's loving my videos, something's not right. It's so if people are angry in the comments, I know I'm doing the correct job. People are like, Tommy's too liberal for me. I'm like, good, good. Because at the same hand, I have liberal friends that are like, yeah, you're too much of a fascist for me. So as long as both sides of people think I'm doing a terrible job,
You're probably threading the needle.
then that means to me, I'm walking right along the I'm walking right along the edge of the sword. I'm like, there we go. If everyone in my family liked my show, something would be wrong. If no one sent me like hate filled emails, something would be wrong. So yeah, but I think a huge reason for, and it's also is when you stop looking at things through an ideology, it's it frees you because it destroys the ideology that you believed in. It destroys the ideology that you're opposed to, but you don't quote unquote win because it destroys yours as well. So it pokes all the holes in the liberal viewpoint, but there's no cheerleading because it's also sunk your conservative viewpoint. So you're no longer looking at it as left versus right. So like I guess you win, but you didn't win anything because you're no longer in the game. So it's this weird dividing by zero thing where you found the answer, but now you're out of the test and the answer doesn't matter. So you get to look at it, you're just kind of passively observing it. And when you look at it that way, it allows you to start viewing things soberly and just very, it's if you and I read about some battle in the Fertile Crescent 6,000 years ago, we're not cheering, right? We're looking at it like, oh, they had bronze weapons and they had stuff. Okay, interesting. And they had an agrarian society and that was a thing. Okay, cool. You just kind of look at versus now it's hard, right? I mean, as I have a flag behind me, it's much harder. So as you can detach yourself from it more, it allows you to look at things more accurately. And I think the really dark truth is, yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that we get out of the Middle East and then a couple months later the defense contractors found a new buffet. I don't think I don't think that's a coincidence. That's it's not good. But
But you're not you dare to think, which is
well, it's
something that I wish for everybody. I need to wind this up
oh
because
sure, yeah. I know I didn't realize. Oh my God, it's 4:30. I've kept you for an hour and 50. I didn't even. I thought
oh,
it
I
was.
loved it. I loved every second.
I apologize. Well, that's how you know it's a good
You
one.
don't apologize.
It's
I
4:30. Holy shit! I thought it was 4. All right, sorry. I apologize. We'll wrap it up. Yeah. Closing thoughts, Mitzi Perdue.
closing thoughts. If you care about mind clearing, and I hope you do, consider heck, a $3 donation to Mine Free Ukraine. And you get to that by going to Donor C, and that's like C as in look at,
SE.
Donor C. And then I think it's slash Mine Free Ukraine.
And that link is in the description. And
Oh, I do need to say one more thing about it though. It's you can make donations right now, but we're still, the site is still under construction. The grand launch is going to be 24th of February, but
Okay.
it's active now in that you can use it, but there will be a lot of polishing between now and then.
Gotcha. I really like that quote that, yeah, the tourniquet of ideology. It's so accurate. It does. Or as the great comedian Tim Dillon says, looking at things through the lenses of liberal or conservative really is just the shirking of the burden of independent thought.
Wow.
You
Oh,
don't
I
have
love
to
that.
you don't have to think, is this right or wrong? Somebody tells you. And that's not right. Independent thought, using the stairs instead of the elevator. It's harder, but it's good for you. Independent thought is not always fun, and it often kind of leads to a dark hole of nihilism. But on the other side is freedom. You can just kind of look at things soberly and adjust accordingly. I don't
Well,
know.
that comes to one of the mottos that guides me, and that is when I'm getting into my ice cold shower in the morning to start off my day, before getting into it, because I don't really want to.
You never
It's
do.
cold, it's comfortable and unpleasant. But I ask myself, do you want comfort or vibrancy? And
Yeah.
for I think it's 11 years now, I've chosen vibrancy.
I was staring at the mirror this morning and I was like, there is truly nothing I would rather not do right now than go to the gym. And then I realized if I didn't go, the rest of the day I'd be wishing I went go. And so it's just like, let's go. And was it a good workout? No, it sucked. I hated it. But as soon as I was finished, I was like, it's finished. So yeah. Choose the more difficult path. Liberate
Yep,
yourself and all that good
vibrancy
stuff.
over comfort.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Mitzi Perdue, I love you. Thank you for coming
I
on
love
here.
you too. This has been super. Thank you.
Again, I'm
And
sorry.
everybody who's listening to us, thank you too.
I'm sorry I kept you for so. That's kind of amazing.
No, I loved it. I
I'm
loved it. Loved
normally
it.
I'm normally plus or minus 10 minutes on like my understanding of where the clock is, but I guess that completely, I don't know. So I apologize.
That's exciting to me. Thank you.
It's a great compliment. Miss Mitzi Perdue, all of your links in the description, your books, your writings, all that good stuff, as well as the website DonorSee to go donate, and it'll be up on February 24th, which is the 1 year anniversary of the Ukrainian invasion by Russia. I only know that because Claire Lopez just told me about an hour ago. So thank you, Miss Mitzi Perdue. Guys, go check it out. Until next time, Mitzi, I love you. I'll send you this episode. Thank you.